21st century, after conquering the moon, people desired more, and Mars became the new goal. The first ever manned flight to the Red Planet is underway, led by experienced astronaut Alexander Shapaev. Although the flight itself is successful, upon entering Mars's atmosphere, the landing module is hit by a meteor shower, causing it to encounter a sandstorm. Back on Earth, the head of Central Flight Control, Kovalev, orders Shapaev to take manual control of the module, but this fails to rectify the critical situation. Then, Kovalev commands the activation of the return program and the detachment of the small module from the main ship. However, the equipment fails. Shapaev manually detaches the module, saving the main crew. His colleagues can now return to Earth, but this astronaut cannot. Kovalev is deeply affected by the incident, while his interview about the upcoming Mars mission plays on TV, not foreseeing the tragic outcome. Once, Kovalev and Shapaev dreamed of flying to the Red Planet, but Kovalev never imagined his best friend paying with his life for it. Now, as the flight director, he must inform the world of the disaster. Kovalev steps out to address the gathered journalists. Meanwhile, on Mars, it turns out that although the module is severely damaged, the astronaut is alive. Shapaev establishes communication, just as Kovalev announces the astronaut's death on television and his heroic act of saving the main ship and crew. Upon learning this, Kovalev rushes to the communication screen, overjoyed to see his friend alive and well. Later, he begins calculating rescue options and asks Minister Rogachev to expedite the next expedition, which could save Shapaev. The minister is horrified by the impending costs. At the same time, a popular TV host reports the Mars disaster to the president of the television corporation, suggesting a show about space dogs instead of a hopeless report on the man stranded on Mars. However, the president advises delving into this topic and calls Kovalev to propose creating a show with his astronaut. A live broadcast from another planet is sensational. Kovalev is outraged by his cynicism, as a man is left utterly alone millions of kilometers from his home planet with little hope for rescue. But the corporation president explains that all funds raised will go towards rescuing astronaut Shapaev, showing the world that people do not abandon their own. Kovalev retreats to his office, where photos of his military comrades reveal that he and Shapaev once served in the army together and have been friends since childhood. Looking at Shapaev's photo, the director announces the start of preparations for the rescue mission. Kovalev learns that only one module section remains intact. On Mars, Shapaev activates a robot to explore the area around the module, while Kovalev finds out that the module's power, designed for 30 months, will actually only last 13. The rescue expedition can be launched in 190 days, aligning with the phases of Mars and Earth. Similar developments exist in China and America. If agreements are reached with them, the rescue can be achieved within 13 months. But Shapaev must survive on extreme rationing. The center's psychologist Anna is ready to work with the astronaut as much and whenever needed to help him endure the upcoming year. Meanwhile, on Mars, Shapaev's robot detects an unidentifiable movement outside. Anna contacts the astronaut, as it's important to know his psychological state, but Shapaev assures her that everything is fine. After talking with Shapaev, the minister announces that the expedition was a success since the module is established on the surface. The astronaut is alive and agrees to participate in the reality show. At Central Flight Control, television crews start their activities. Kovalev's protests are dismissed by the television corporation president, reminding him that this is all for the astronaut's rescue. TV host Grisha advises Shapaev to simply listen to him for the show to succeed. And so, the show begins. The TV host introduces the world to the man cast to the edge of the universe, but Shapaev takes the floor and starts simply talking to people, sharing what he has learned about Mars. He does this with a great sense of humor, winning the love of the Earthlings. However, the man struggles with the loneliness on an alien planet. One day, he contacts Earth because he heard strange sounds, but the communication specialist Peter detects nothing unusual, and Shapaev disconnects. During this time on Earth, the TV host again urges the president of the television corporation to abandon the filming, but he then reveals the true nature of the show. Live observation of a man on the brink of life and death. Shapaev quickly becomes first a Russian and then an international celebrity. He is nicknamed the alien. Videos of his broadcasts about the structure of the universe rapidly gain views on social media, and his live connections draw vast audiences. Children ask their questions, to which the astronaut responds simply and clearly, earning him immense love from viewers. However, some envy the astronaut's fame. Anna's fiancé, Pyotr, starts to feel jealous of Chapayev, with whom she communicates for several hours a day, a fact noted by the TV host. Unexpectedly, the downside of the show becomes apparent. The live broadcasts consume a lot of energy, and Chapayev can only survive under conditions of increased conservation. But the president of the television corp insists on continuing the show, as the more money they earn, the faster they can organize a rescue expedition. Kovalev announces an increase in broadcasts despite Anna's outrage. Meanwhile, on Mars, Chapayev continues to conduct planned experiments and occasionally hears strange sounds, which Pyotr consistently misses. One day, the astronaut begins to suffer from terrible headaches caused by some unknown radiation, but then they suddenly stop, and he hears his mother's voice, which delights him. The next day, he tells young viewers about the universe, space, and Earth. The children listen to him, holding their breath. Suddenly, he confesses that from the very first day on Mars, he felt like he was hearing sounds, as if someone was trying to talk to him, and now he is sure that he is not alone on Mars. This conversation causes alarm at the Flight Control Center. Apparently, Chapayev is starting to hallucinate. The minister demands to find out what is happening with Chapayev. Psychologist Anna requests a private conversation with the astronaut. Chapayev confesses that the sounds he heard seem to express what is inside him, as if he is the cause of everything happening, not the consequence. As if there is no time, no space, not even Mars. It seems that people created this reality and are now trying to understand it. People create universes, planets, harmony, or destroy them, and he feels like he is the cause of everything happening on Mars, and people are the cause of what is happening on Earth. Only on Earth there are many people, and everything is so confused, but on Mars, he is alone. The astronaut is surprised that no one but him hears sounds like a melody, and Anna concludes that these are hallucinations. During the next broadcast, Chapayev suddenly confesses that he feels lost. The TV host has to convince Chapayev that Earthlings are waiting for his return. But suddenly, the astronaut stops talking to Anna. He tries to explain that he encountered something anomalous on Mars, but the Flight Control Center considered him insane. So, Chapayev deemed them insane. Earth was becoming more distant from him. Then, one day, communications specialist Pyotr also catches strange signals. He tries to talk to Anna, but she, upset by the astronaut's behavior and her fiancé's jealousy suspicions, doesn't listen. By the next broadcast, Chapayev does not make contact at the appointed time. Anna tries to call him to talk, but unsuccessfully. Strangely, the president of the television corporation is only pleased by this. He contacts the minister and proposes to discuss the issue of power, as if Chapayev supports Rogachev, he could win the elections and become president. Meanwhile, on Mars, the search robot discovers an unknown, shapeless creature, previously unseen. Back on Earth, Rogachev calls Pyotr and orders him to establish communication with Mars. He has a business proposal that Chapayev cannot refuse. Later, the astronaut goes on air with a rather strange message about life on Mars, showing a toy Martian. Then he agrees to participate in a new show called Chapayev Knows, where he starts giving advice in virtually all spheres of human life. He becomes the most popular person on the planet. Anna realizes that something is wrong, and one day she literally corners her fiancé, demanding he tell her everything he knows. And he confesses that there were indeed some sounds on Mars, but it's impossible to talk to Chapayev because all communication channels are blocked. The astronaut continues to explore Mars with the robot. Meanwhile, on Earth, Kovalev comes to the minister. The money is collected, and it's time to start the rescue expedition. But suddenly, the minister declares that rescue is impossible under any circumstances. Chapayev is a routine loss. The funds raised from the show have disappeared into thin air. The program is winding down, and Kovalev is fired. Meanwhile, Chapayev continues to experience headaches from the unintelligible sounds emitted by an unknown entity attacking the module. At the same time, Kovalev approaches the president of the television corporation for help, and he asks to wait until tomorrow. The next day, the show starts with Chapayev urging Earthlings to vote for Rogachev, who has nominated himself for president. But at the moment when the minister is bowing before the monitors, a special forces group bursts into the television center. The broadcast is interrupted, and everyone sees that it was not Chapayev, but the TV host addressing the people. It turns out that a duplicate of the module was built in one of the television studios, and a computer model of the astronaut was created. The police began an investigation to identify the client of this monstrous scam, asserting that there was no accident on Mars, and thus, no astronaut. Supposedly, the entire story was invented for the show. Kovalev is in despair. All hope has fallen. He won't be able to save his friend. Meanwhile, Rogachev is arrested. Kovalev breaks into the flight control center as TV reports the death of Chapayev. Kovalev fights with the special forces. A gunshot is heard. At this time, the president of the television corporation contemplates that Chapayev never existed. Never. But the astronaut does exist. A wounded Kovalev reaches the employees of the flight control center and contacts Chapayev on Mars. He apologizes for Earthlings, who are only interested in money and power. Kovalev tells his friend that the government decided to tell the world that there was no module, no landing on Mars, and Chapayev died several months ago on Earth while on duty. It was all fiction for the show, but if he could give people a sign, then the connection is cut off. An emergency news broadcast airs. American satellites recorded an explosion on the surface of Mars in the Cupid's Plateau area. All experts affirm that it was the module of the International Martian Expedition, which is direct evidence that astronaut Chapayev was indeed on Mars. The astronaut, after the explosion of the module, goes into the deserts of Mars and talks about what the unknown Martian entity told him. Chapayev understood that humans inadvertently are the creators of the material universe. Each moment in time is an act of creation of the universe. Humans are creators who come and simultaneously create this material world to understand it. It's like the double slit experiment in quantum physics, a well-known experiment confirming the immaterial nature of our universe, where elementary particles become matter only when observed. Humans are the cause of all misfortunes and catastrophes in the universe, just as each person individually is the cause of everything happening in their own life on Earth. Therefore, only humans can change this life, the world, and the entire universe, if they can change themselves. Next, we see how Chapayev voluntarily dissolves and merges with the universe, from which each of us appears in this world.